7 years ago, Thoth asked me to sit down right over there and record a message from him. I'd been talking to him for years. Since then, he has never asked me to share live, and he just did. And with this, I give you Thoth. A critical transition is underway, and it is necessary that you understand certain fundamental principles of the conditions around you. Access to the dimensional spaces that reveal the truth of your past lives has been opened in new forms. In these forms, you now have an enhanced capacity to directly become those parts of yourself you have lived in other lifetimes. As you do this, you must consider the resonance that is present within you now. This is analogous to something closer to sexual violation than anything else I could introduce you to. Essentially, do not misuse this power within yourself. Your spirit is present in a way that knows what you are ready to learn and screams through the boundaries that must be dissolved. When you dissolve these boundaries, you become something that is both what you have been and what you once were before this incarnation. To become something of this magnitude is a challenge to the consistency of your psychological stability. In essence, you must continue to consider the impact this has on your being day to day. You must continue to be a part of your community and your family. They need you. Not only do they need you, you are likely to be someone who is far more consistently stable and present within these changes than many others are. And thus, it is more important that you directly access the center of your consciousness within this life and learn how to add a broader range of awareness to this without destroying it in the manner I have already encouraged you to consider. As you do this, it is necessary for you to understand certain foundations to the conditions in which humanity has been placed. At the beginning of this story, some beings were introduced to your society who have never been invested in creating your society. They were explicitly invited here in order to catalyze the destructions that were necessary throughout the course of human history. In essence, they maintained the will and even the desire to inflict pain and to take pleasure in it. This has a place in this world. When you consider the necessity of understanding this now, please appreciate if you get caught wrestling with these thoughts midway between appreciating them and embracing the magnitude, the perspective that is necessary to remain grounded, you may indeed generate more confusion than you can bear and cause great suffering to yourself and those around you. And thus I teach you one of the most difficult lessons. And as I teach you this lesson, I tell you at its inception, you may well fear me much more because I teach you this now. Multiple beings were categorized as evil. They were done in this way, done, completed. They were completed as a legitimate part of human society by a force that became dominant. They were cast under one name, the devil. This was always an umbrella. Beneath it, many names of beings that existed independently were shrouded. In this, there was a consistency that has continued beneath the surface of your understanding, and that is the lie. You are charged to appreciate that the nature of lies is to dissolve in the face of the truth. The nature of lies is that they lack the integrity to continue and to reflower because they are not rooted in the truth. Without being rooted in the truth, you cannot draw life force from the deep roots of that which is being born to last. And thus, they function in a manner that is fundamentally parasitic. This parasitic nature depends upon convincing you to invest your life force in them. When you do this, your core spirit, the roots of the spiritual tree that exists beneath the surface of your presence in this body, will always tell you what is true and what is a lie. This revelation is existent within you, and it can be overwhelmed. Periodically, you can experience waves of sensation that are so pronounced that you drown your current awareness within them and embody them with that which is normally your free agency. Your ability to generate a will to focus upon any given theme of consciousness is indeed interrelated with the fabric of material reality around you and the resonance that transmits within the dimensions you know of as three-dimensional space. In other words, you can be convinced to lose your mind when the intensities around you are pronounced enough. In this, it is fundamentally critical that you maintain a deepening commitment to retune. You retune by extending a line of light from your root to your crown and centering it in your heart. You do this as a cause of survival. You do this just as a mammal of the ocean surfaces to breathe. You will not survive this transition in your own spiritual presence unless you continue to maintain the commitment to tend this vibration first and foremost. This current from your root to your crown must learn to trust the roots beneath your feet and the web of life that enters you through your divine presence. The divine presence opens your crown in a manner that ignites you like a flower. A flower and a candle flame emerge around the 5 critical chakras of your head. When they do this, you feel it. Lines of light extend from the middle of your head in the center of your God space. The light ignites because this is what reminds you of who you are. You are able to channel energy in all directions that link to multiple dimensions. This activates a sacred awareness that becomes increasingly impervious to external manipulation. I teach you this now because it is important you understand a fundamental nature of what you have known as evil and what you have known as lies. Lies have a place in this. When you lie to yourself, you can believe in something new, which allows you to invest in something new and dissolve the old. Hence, you separate from a past which, when applied correctly, enables you to leave behind unhealthy patterns. Lies enable you to rest in the face of a drowning of consciousness. When you create feedback loops of attention, which force you to face things over and over and over again, investing your core presence in them in a manner that becomes deeply unproductive. On a practical level, many beings that you have been taught to understand as evil have, over the course of history, tricked you into being worse. This trickery is a fundamental aspect of his story as it was. Essentially, they do you a greater service than you may understand. If a being challenges you to do something awful, they verbalize it in your mind and give you the opportunity to reject them. This is a gift that you cannot understand from within the confines of a more limited awareness of reality. What it entails is a recognition that beneath the roots of that which you have called evil are beings who have always been here to trick you out of evil. A simpler way of relating to them would be to appreciate that they are more like gardeners who are charged to tend the compost pile of that which we do not want to continue. They turn it over. They ruin seedlings that attempt to sprout there, and they force all of the negative energies within to understand themselves as negative. They are negative in relation to the world we are creating together. And when they are pitted against each other with great focus and limitation, they eventually deteriorate their spiritual presence and are returned to a form that can grow new life. To reconceptualize those beings you have known as evil in this manner will be a challenge. I am not inviting you to engage them directly. It is not necessary. The necessity of engaging them directly comes when beings are caught in a manner of consciousness that is beyond the range of what we accept as human. This acceptance entails you stay within a certain vibrational range. When you stray beyond this range, you enter layers of dominance that have always been relegated to creatures. There is no shame in this. It is a simple act of conscious awareness. To realize that you have entered a domain in which power has been forced into patterns of dominance. When every being in a range of awareness comes within contact of each other and predetermines their power or hesitates to continue until such power is redetermined, then they all live within the same field of consciousness. These fields take many forms, and you will know them as the many species of animals that you encounter. As an emerging spiritual being, one who knows yourself and your awareness and its potential to stray beyond these boundaries, you must learn to recognize when you are past the limits. I will help you. I rarely lie. It happens in a way that is deeply unsettling. I will, on rare occasion, play the role of that which you fear the most, that you may say no. It is a tool of consciousness that many angels use, and most of us use it with great discretion. However, at the moment, a much deeper root has been unleashed. There are currents which would reveal all to you quickly. This is an alternate way to access the depths of consciousness that are currently surging through human consciousness. To suggest that unleashing it in a manner that invokes this power within anyone and everyone who comes into contact is to disregard the potential impacts on individuals. This is not the same as entering the animal kingdoms. This is the other side. You need to comprehend that the range that you must learn to appreciate as human has a lower and an upper boundary. Higher in this context is not invariably good. Higher in this context would tell you all, reveal everything, and give you greater power than you have ever held, though you are not ready to wield it. To understand that using caution in this embrace is not only critical, but it is the determinant factor in whether you will be willing and able to stay here, is to choose now, before it is a more critical issue, whether or not you hope to stay. By choosing this now, you prepare yourself for the potential to be introduced to too much power all at once. You must be ready to say, slow down. You must be ready, and you prepare yourself now. You prepare yourself by centering your intentions. You prepare yourself by asking for help. You prepare yourself by practicing the art of feeling yourself in the face of great currents of spiritual transformation. To know yourself in the wind and the flame is to reclaim the ability to cast new intentions into existence from within the depths of the greatest of intensities. You are far more capable than you comprehend. It is not necessary to oppose the greatest of intensities, for when you are caught within them, you can change them with a breath, when the breath is in the rhythm of the truth. The truth embraces you in these moments because the truth not only refuses to drown in hierarchical substructures of consciousness that are beyond human, but it also reminds you when you are simply not ready to take in more. To prepare for this is to appreciate a fundamental nature of the earth. Creatures have been cast in a mold for a reason. They were cast in a mold for a reason. They were put there in the way of being that they exist, that they may retain a sense of self. They asked for this experience, and they agreed to the severe limitations of the constraints that they are placed under. You did not. When you are incarnate in a human body, it is critical that you recognize that the patterns within which they exist were built. The architect of this way is a part of God. It is critical that you understand that the differentiations of beings that you have grown to accept as normal are all of one. Oneness extends in every way and dimension. Oneness embraces all that is, and oneness creates itself in new forms that involve critical rejection. Whenever consciousness begins in rejection, it creates the possibility of something that, by many measures, is terrifying and unacceptable. The architect of this way of being here on Earth was essentially hired by Gaia herself to do what it has done. And it does play a certain kind of game. Just as a cat will torture a mouse to keep it from staying where it is, because the mouse does not fear death, but it fears pain. This architecture will torture you to expose the ways in which your egoic response to transformation could cause you to wield power in a terrifying way. But please understand, this is only one way to teach you this lesson. It is a terrifying and deeply damaging way which could destroy your life. I am here to teach you in a different way. I am here to teach you how to directly access consciousness of many eras through me. The way of being that I have retained throughout the currents of history is limited. I have not been the king of all of this. Gaia herself hires many beings to play different roles. And to use the term hire in this form is to understand that from the perspective of off-planetary existence, the Earth is like a mountain. To be hired is to be embraced into the peak of this and placed above those who approach. To appreciate the dimensionality is to understand that remembrance comes when you claim the experience of choosing to enter this space. To know that I am higher in this space than you are or probably will be is to recognize that there is a lot of good you can do. There is a tremendous and beautiful experience of life here that you are invited into. And I cherish the path into this. I cherish the way in which you may make this real now in this lifetime. But you must do the work to make it work. For if you follow, you must know what you follow. If you lead, you must know what you follow. For to insist in a greater independence than is possible to exist within the constraints of that which is being born is to be channeled into forms of hierarchy which will ultimately destroy your life and those around you. To claim an egoic relationship to your past is to misunderstand the nature of consciousness in this moment in relation to the dimension of time. What do you truly need to know about yourself? To ask these questions with care is to respect that the revelation you may embrace through yourself in this time can be mediated by me. I am here with you and you can reach to me. And if you do not yet know how to converse with me directly, I urge you to be cautious about how you engage this conversation in other ways. There are many who I have taught for millennia, who are capable of holding space for you to remember other lifetimes beyond those that you are living. I urge you not to take the story of these lifetimes from them. For you to be ready to embrace the truth, the knowledge, the insight, and the wisdom, the presence and the transformation that will come from these memories becoming part of you, you must be able to access them directly. To have this access directly mediated by one who can hold space for it is sacred. To have it given to you is to embrace it with a taint that you will regret. Understand, it is indeed possible for one person to tell another who they were and what they were. Yet it is not possible to reclaim direct access to those memories. When you maintain the belief patterns, attitudes, perspective, and resonance that another has given you, which in finite reality is a limited angle on the truth. The truth of the resonance that is your own is yours. Keep it as yours. If you are not yet capable of accessing it directly within yourself, consider that you have work to do that is more critical than gaining knowledge that you do not yet need and could indeed taint you, dissolve boundaries you, recurrent, and embrace them. A recurrent boundary recreates itself. It recreates itself from a depth of rootedness that is a part of you. When you get caught in a dynamic where you are consistently confronting such a boundary that has recreated itself, and you learn to dissolve it in your conscious experience, and then it recreates yourself, consider that it may need to exist. There is a surge of life force moving through the earth right now. It is inducing multiple changes in multiple ways. Many different beings and collections of beings will respond to these changes in different ways. Choose wisely who and what you trust in these times.